A request for quote, also called an RFQ, is used to invite suppliers to provide a price for an item, or to invite multiple suppliers to provide competitive quotes for the same item. RFQs can be generated in 3 ways in the CMMS. 1. You can configure your parts to automatically send an RFQ when stock is running low. 2. RFQs can be generated from a purchase request located in the purchasing planning board. 3. You can manually create an RFQ in the purchasing menu. Firstly, let's see how the CMMS automatically creates RFQs when stock levels breach the minimum. I'll open up the cooling line pump filter. You'll notice we have 12 filters on hand, and we always want to keep a minimum quantity of 4 at any one time. Navigate to the Business tab in the part record to start adding suppliers. Let's say our financial controller insists on getting 3 competitive quotes before purchasing any parts. Click Add to attach the first supplier to this part. I'll choose Acme Suppliers from the list of available businesses. The supplier part number is Acme Suppliers' number in their catalog. Let's check Acme Supplier as the preferred vendor because we usually get a 20% discount. Now this is where you configure the RFQs for the vendor. When low stock occurs, we want to automatically send a request for quote for 12 filters. Click OK. I'll repeat this process for 2 other vendors, all with a reorder quantity of 12. When done, you'll notice the green tick beside Acme as they're our preferred vendor. Now let's see this in action. I'll quickly toggle to a work order and consume 10 pump filters so the minimum stock level of 4 is breached. Select the pump filter from the parts list. We'll consume 10 in this work order. Click OK to assign the 10 stock items to the work order. Navigate back to the part record and we can see the part level is now 2 on hand. We had 12, used 10, now left with 2. By breaching the minimum stock level, 3 RFQs were automatically sent to the 3 listed suppliers. I used my own email on one of the suppliers, and I can see the RFQ here in my mailbox. The other listed suppliers would have received the same email. If we head back to the CMMS and navigate to the purchasing planning board, we can see the request for quote for 12 pump filters is waiting for responses. The request is sitting under Acme Supplier section, and their RFQ is shown in bold as they're the preferred vendor. I can change this if I get a more competitive quote from another vendor. Once the quotes come back, I can turn the request into a purchase order, which is covered in detail in the purchase order video. Now let's look at the second method, manually create an RFQ from a purchase request. While reviewing the purchase requests on the purchasing planning board, I see that Susan has requested 2 arc flash covers, 3 oil filters, and 1 thermocouple. But there are no prices listed, so before I can finalize a purchase for these parts, I'm going to need a price for the 3 items. I check the parts and press Request Quote, which creates an RFQ draft for the 3 parts. Enter an expected response and delivery dates. I'll add a shipping location, as this could affect delivery costs. Just like other modules in the CMMS, files can be dragged into the RFQ if needed. However, it's important to note that these files don't get attached to any emails that are sent to the supplier. The Preview tab shows a preview of the RFQ. Hit Send RFQ. When the preview window opens, there are 4 options. You can hit the X to cancel and leave the RFQ in draft status. You can click OK to mark it as sent. You can print and fax it to the supplier. Or you can click Send Email to officially dispatch the email to the supplier. When a supplier replies with a quote for the parts, I can fill in the quantity quoted and the price. Like before, the next step would be to create a purchase order. Now, let's look at a third way to create an RFQ in the CMMS. Navigate down to the RFQ menu item in the Purchasing tab and click New. This is a blank template for an RFQ with no parts or supplier details. First, fill in the expected response and delivery dates. Next, add the parts and supplies required. For this example, I'll add a gasket and some rubber seals. Select Rubber Seal from the parts list and click OK. Repeat for the gasket. In the Shipping and Receiving tab, I'll add the supplier information and also the Ship To location. I can add files as before, but I'm happy to just send this now. Click Send Email to send to the supplier contact. And that's it. Next step is to use the RFQ replies to turn the purchase request into a purchase order.